There's so many white people. I'm not going to die.
Only way for fascism to die is for fascists to die.
Another day, more unhinged TikToks that might make your brain melt a little bit. We're going to react to more unhinged videos from TikTok in this bonus episode of the Barad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where we take on the craziest ideas from across the internet, our politics, and our media, all from an independent perspective. Up first, this TikToker is openly afraid of white people, I guess. Let's take a listen to the chilling and horrifying experience they had at a Trader Joe's.
So I'm trying to go grocery shopping at Trader Joe's, and I can see inside through the entrance, and there's so many white people. There's so many they're white people, and I feel out of place, and I'm not going to die.
Oh? So we're just openly doing racism now? And that's like woke or what do you mean? What do you think's going to happen if you go in there? And it's a Trader Joe's. What else did you expect? It's like me walking into a Starbucks and being like, there's too many white girls in here. You're setting yourself up for failure, my dude, or my they, them, or whatever you are. And I don't know, like imagine this reverse. Imagine somebody filming themselves in their car being like, I just rolled up to this store and there's way too many black people in here. I'm not going in. We would all be like, WTF? That's weird. That's very weird and racist. Don't do that. And definitely don't post about it and brag about it. What? The internet has broken some people's brains. Progressive politics have melted some people's brains. And that's what we're seeing here. I mean, I almost feel bad for this person because you're clearly not well if you're feeling this way or acting this way or speaking this way publicly, and it's kind of sad. Get the help you need, dude. Up next, we've got a lovely video from somebody who openly wants her political opponents to die. Let's listen to this lovely young woman.
Don't bother asking clarifying questions because I'm not going to answer them, but it is my genuine belief that the only way for fascism to die is for fascists to die. If we want fascism as an ideology to die, then the fascists who are spreading it have to die. You might think that's harsh. You may say, Grace, that's anti-free speech. I don't really care. I think that some of you are not willing to do what it actually takes because you don't actually care.
So this is giving fascist. You actually sound fascist when you're saying you want to kill the people that disagree with you or speak out against your agenda. And it's actually kind of embarrassing and a self-own if you admit that you can't convince people that your ideas are right or good. Maybe the problem might be you. It might be your ideas. It might be the way you're arguing for them or presenting them. But yeah, when you want to exterminate groups of people, that is usually not a sign that you're the good guy. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. And I also think this person probably defines fascism quite broadly and would just be like, yeah, we got to kill all the Trump supporters. That's what I'm picking up from this video. And that's disturbing. I'm going to be honest. The FBI should probably investigate this woman. And it is wild to me that you can say stuff like this on TikTok and it's all good. But some of the things I post get flagged and taken down. Kind of wild. But here we are, I guess. Up next, we've got a really obnoxious video about the trans athlete debate. Coming up, after this. Are you curious about Bitcoin, but you feel like it's too complicated to get started? Well, you're not alone. With inflation decreasing the value of the dollar, many of us are looking for ways to invest and diversify. That's where Coinbits comes in. They make investing and saving Bitcoin easy through their Roundups feature. Here's how it works. Link your debit card or bank account, and every time you make a purchase, Coinbits rounds it up to the nearest dollar and saves your spare change in Bitcoin. No technology experience or extra work is needed. It's a set it and forget it way to invest and save Bitcoin without having to think about it. Plus, Coinbits is a trusted family-owned business built right here in the USA with top-tier customer support. Stop waiting and overthinking Bitcoin. You can sign up for Coinbits and get started in just under 3 minutes. Head to coinbits.app/Brad and start your Bitcoin journey effortlessly. That's coinbits.app/Brad or the link in the description. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice and you should always do your own research. Now back to today's show. Okay guys, let's listen to this next video about the trans athlete debate, and this guy really thought he made some good points, though he did not, in fact, make good points. Let's take a listen.
Let's talk about something that's a little uncomfortable. Sports have never been fair. Some athletes are just born faster or taller or with faster twitching muscles. Some parents can afford multiple weekly private lessons. Some athletes have access to Olympic coaches or weekly massages or $2,000 gear. Some live right next to an Olympic training center, and some people drive 4 hours just to get some time with a coach. But no one talks about those as being unfair advantages. Those are just seen as sacrifices or dedication. But when a trans athlete shows up, then all of a sudden we start talking about fairness. Let's be 100% clear. If we only get outraged about fairness when it involves a trans person, that is not about fairness at all. That is transphobia, because advantages have always existed in sport, but we don't question it when it looks like money or access in other ways. We only start to question it when it challenges our idea of who belongs in sports or the world around us.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there from this male feminist who apparently doesn't think women's sports should exist as a meaningful concept. First off, believing that biological male athletes who are trans women should not compete in women's sports does not mean we think they shouldn't exist in society or shouldn't play sports at all. No, it just means that we think female sports are a sex-segregated, separate competition for a reason, and that reason is biology. And this whole video is just kind of beating up a straw man. No one ever said sports were perfectly fair. We do talk about these unequal opportunities and different things that give people advantages, and there's not really a way to eliminate it and make it perfectly fair, but the degree here is totally different than the massive biological differences between males and females. You're talking about things that give you a slight competitive edge versus massive biological gaps. And okay, by this logic, just abolish women's sports, right? Just have males and females compete together and the best athletes make the team. And guess what? In most sports, females don't get to play sports if that's what you do, because this is a huge thing. Biology is not like having the most expensive pair of track shoes that might give you an extra 0.1%, liftoff time or whatever. It's not like having a trainer to help you refine your free throws. Like it is literally a different category of athlete for a reason, and you have not debunked or owned us by pointing out that much smaller and much less significant differences within the sexes do also exist and affect athletic competition. We know. Doesn't mean we should stop segregating sports by sex or that massive differences are somehow okay. Like, he really thought he ate. He really thought he did his big one, but he did not, in fact, do his big one. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. This next video I found funny, but also disturbing. This woman explains how she's woke, but she's not this woke. A level of woke I didn't even know existed. Let's listen.
I'm woke, but I'm not, you're not allowed to wish for a healthy baby woke. That's crazy. I just learned that I guess there's discourse happening with moms saying, I don't care if it's a boy, I don't care if it's a girl, I just want a healthy baby. Duh. But there's people in the comments that are like, wow, so you're not going to care about your baby if it's not healthy? Like, are you serious? Like, unhealthy babies and babies with disabilities are just as worthy of love and support. Who said they weren't? Show me someone that said babies with autism, babies with Down syndrome, babies with disabilities, babies who are handicapped aren't worthy of love. Who said that? Because I don't think anyone said that. I think it would be really bizarre to be like, hey, I really hope my baby has childhood cancer. I really want my baby to have cerebral palsy. I really want them to have a learning disability that makes learning and school for them really difficult. That's so bizarre.
So this one I found funny, but also kind of horrifying at the same time, because this really is a thing. Like, you truly are never going to be woke enough for some of the craziest people on the internet. And the idea that it's like problematic to want a healthy baby or ableist or anything like that is so absurd. Because here's the thing, like, especially some of the rhetoric around disability activism online and in woke circles is just totally insane. It can be true that people with disabilities are not less valuable as humans, deserve accommodations and respect and support, and that it is preferable to not have a disability than to have one. And that actually, to the extent we can minimize people becoming disabled, that is good. But some of them would literally say that that's like eugenics or something, and like that you're genociding disabled people if you work on scientific advancements to reduce the frequency of certain disabilities in the population. Like, I don't know how we ever got to this point, but some people's brains have truly been broken. And maybe it's a sign of growth or health that someone like this woman feels comfortable speaking up. And a lot of people liked and resonated with this in the comments. Because a few years ago, I think she might have been so scared of being canceled by like woke disability TikTokers that she might not have spoken out. But I'm glad she did. And I approve this message. What a wild time we live in. Up next, we've got a feminist TikTok that made me roll my eyes a little bit.
I once went on a date with a guy who said that the gender wage gap just isn't real. And I was like, oh, why would you say that? And he said, well, it just doesn't make sense to me. I was like, if you're going to say something and your best evidence is that it just doesn't make sense to you, maybe you should reconsider. And he kept going on, well, like, think about it. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm so embarrassed that I went on a second date with this guy. I don't know. He claims it just, in his head, it just didn't make sense. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't make sense if you think about it. But that doesn't mean it's not there.
So I can't be the only one who finds it kind of funny how this is like a feminist influencer, but she's filming in a bikini top question mark with very clear emphasis placed on her breasts. So, I mean, that's one way to get engagement, to increase view duration. And listen, no shade. I hate the game, not the player, right? Like, I get it, but it's a little funny when you're like a feminist girl boss and you do it to get your content or whatever. But regardless, so it sounds like this guy, first off, why did you go on a second date with him if you hate him so much? Like, that's your own fault. But also, it sounds like this guy probably should have had a better grasp of the argument if he was going to make a statement like that. I agree. You should have a little bit more of familiarity with it if you're going to weigh in. But he's also right. It doesn't make sense. The idea of the traditionally presented idea of the gender wage gap, where they say something like women are paid 77 cents on the dollar for doing the same job that a man does. It doesn't make a lot of sense because if you think about it, in a capitalist system, companies and employers are literally just trying to make as much money as possible. And so if they could really hire women for 77 cents on the dollar compared to men for the same work with the same qualifications, they would be hiring all women staffs. Like, that would be a basic, massive moneymaker, basic Econ 101 thing that the market would incentivize. It doesn't really work like that, which is your first sign that maybe something about this narrative doesn't make sense. And of course, it is true that when you actually compare men with the same amount of years of experience in the same jobs and with the same degrees and the same amount of work hours. To women, the gender wage gap shrinks to just a couple of cents, which, I mean, maybe it should be 1-to-1, sure, but it's not this massive thing that they make it out to be. The narrative is not really true or correct. So sounds like she got mad at this guy for no real reason and then decided to yap about it on the internet. Maybe he's lucky that no third date took place. All right, guys, that'll be it for today's bonus episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Do make sure to subscribe if you aren't yet. Do hit that like button before you go. Remember, you can subscribe to the Brad vs. Everyone podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. And with that, guys, we'll talk again real soon.